You guys know the difference between simple interest and compound interest? No? Okay.
Oh yeah, I know. What is this? Just this name is new for me.
Okay. Okay. So simple interest. So what we're going to do is we're going to calculate simple interest. And this is interest on a loan or interest on savings or whatever. It doesn't really matter. It's just interest. And the calculation for this is PRT, which means principal times the rate times the time. Okay. For example, i.e., if I had $100 and the interest rate was 5% for 2 years, what would be the amount of interest that I collect on that? Can anybody calculate that? Okay, so if I use PRT, P is the principal, 100 times 0.05 times 2 years. And what do you think the answer is going to be?
I think the $10.
$10.
$10.
Okay, $10, but if I divide it by 2 years, that gives me $5 per year, correct?
Yes, correct.
Yes, okay. So let me put it on the timeline. So this is times 0, 0. This is time 1, and this is 2 years. So if I was to start with $100 here, and I keep it invested for 1 year, how much money do I get at the end of that year?
105.
$5, right? So the bank sends me a check for $5. And then my $100 still in the bank, it grows for another year. And how much do I get that year?
$5.
$5, okay? So the first year I earn $5 and the bank sends it to me by check, okay? Then I keep the $100 in for another year and the bank sends me another $5. So at the end of the year, I get my $100 back, plus I got $5 the first year and $5 the second year. So that equals 110. Okay. Now, what I want to know is, what is the rate, the effective rate, which is equal to 10 divided by 100 gives me 10%, but that is for 2 years, so I divide it by 2, and it gives me 5%. Okay. So that is essentially simple interest. Okay. Now, let's take a look at something known as compound interest. okay? And compounding is just interest on interest, okay? Compounding periods, you can compound annually, you can compound semi-annually, you can compound quarterly, you can compound monthly, you can compound weekly, you can compound daily, you can compound secondly, and you can compound continuously. And that would be Euler. Anyway, so just know that we can have different compounding periods, okay? But if it's not stated, then it's just assumed that it's compounded annually. So let's take another. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you what happens when we compound $100 for 2 years. So at the end of the first year, I earn $5. But what happens here is, rather than the bank sending me the $5, they add it on to the principal. And that principal is now not $100, it's $105. And that is invested for the second year. And how much do I make in the second year? Anybody?
$5.25.
Yes, thank you. $5.25. Okay, so now if we look at how much I made, we find out that I earned 100 plus the $5 plus the $5.25, which gives me 110.25. If I want to find out how much that is in terms of a rate of return or effective interest rate, I take 10.25 and I divide it by 100. It gives me, and then of course, I always forget to do this, times 100 to get a percentage, and it gives me 5.125%. Oops, sorry, 10.25. 10.25%. Then I'm going to divide that by 2 for 2 years. And that gives me 5.125%. So let me ask you guys a question. If you had an extra $100 and you wanted to put it into a savings account, would you, for 2 years, would you rather have simple interest or compound interest?
Compound, of course.
Of course, why?
Because we can get more money on this one.
Now, let me ask you another question. If you were borrowing money for 2 years, would you rather have the loan interest calculated as simple interest or compound interest?
Simple.
Simple. Yeah.
Simple. Okay. All right. So what I want to tell you right now is the more you compound, the higher the effective rate. Okay. All right. So we've looked at compounding for 1 year or for 2 years. We compounded it annually. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to teach you what's known as time value of money. And time value of money is very, very, very important. Okay. This, if you learn nothing else in this course, this would be one thing that you would want to learn. And what we're going to do is I'm going to show you a calculation that makes, or a formula that makes calculating compounding easier. Why? Because if I was here, this is only for 2 years, but what happens if I invested for 20 years or 30 years? I can't keep doing this equation over and over and over 20 times, okay? Oops. So, this is what's known as the future value calculation. So FV stands for future value. PV stands for present value. I stands for interest rate. And N stands for number of periods. Okay, so let's take the $100 and plug it into this formula. So what I want to do is I want to find out what is the future value of $100 that I deposit today into a savings account. What is the future value of that amount at a rate of 5% compounded annually for 2 years? Okay, so that is going to give me future value equals 100 times 1.05 to the power of 2. Does everybody see that?
Yep.
Okay. Now, I'm going to share my calculator with you. Okay, so if you have a calculator, there's one thing that you need to do is you need to have this button here, which is called X to the Y. Okay, now if you use your calculator on your phone, I'll just show you something. There it is. So if you guys can see this, you use your calculator. It's a simple calculator. If you turn your phone sideways, it gives you a scientific calculator, which is what you need in order to do these calculations. Okay, so let me just use this formula. So I have 1 plus 0.05. Okay, now I need to raise that to the power of 2. So I'm going to hit this x to the y button, and then that recognizes the x, the base. Then I'm going to go y to the x again, x to the y again, and you see that it's raised it to the power of 2, and that gives me 1.1025, or wait a minute here. Yes, and then I multiply that by 100, and that gives me $110.25. And this is it right here. So if I did this, that would be 110.25 is the answer to that. And if I look at it here, 100 plus 5, 105. For another year gives me 525. We add 525 to the 5, and that gives me 110.25. Okay, Manjola, don't worry about it. The invitations for the class are always going to be sent to the announcement section of Canvas. Okay, guys, let's take a break. Break for 10 minutes. To 10 a.m. Okay, guys, we'll do a break.
Oh, sorry, may I ask you?
Yes?
Yeah. Can I leave class early? For example, at 12 a.m.
Yes,
Because,
that's fine.
yeah, because I have I'm studying in another college for TOEFL test.
Okay,
It's okay. It's no problem.
no problem. You can, I record the classes, so you can watch the recording later if you want.
Yeah, because my class is beginning at 12 a.m. and I needed it for my future, because I want study in public college in January.
Yep.
After these courses.
Yep, no problem.
Okay, thank you so much.
Okay.
Thank you. See you.
Hello, Professor.
Hello.
My name is Magnola.
Hi, Manuela.
Hi, and I am a student of TSoM since October 2019.
Okay.
And I take these classes because in February I was not in Canada. I was in my home country because I'm from Albania, and I was visiting my son in my home country. So I will take class now with this course.
Okay.
Thank you.
No problem. Thank you. Okay, I need to go for a break, guys. Okay, guys, I'll wait a couple of minutes to see, just to make sure people are back.
Sir?
Yep.
I have a question, but it is not related to course.
Okay.
What do you think about job market next year? Like, because of this COVID, most of the people stopped hiring.
That's actually not true. Yes, there is a problem right now for labor jobs, specifically in the retail sector, okay? So there's a shortage probably of jobs in restaurants and that sort of thing because people are not going to restaurants. I think that maybe in 6 months things will be different, hopefully. We went through this before. We had what's known as SARS. Do you guys remember SARS?
Yes.
Yeah. So we had that here, and we got through that pretty easily, meaning it was only about 6 months, 6 months that it took to get rid of. Now, I don't know if we can get rid of this or if there's going to be a vaccine. Apparently, there's going to be a vaccine in, let's say, less than 6 months. That would change a lot of things. But right now, it's going to be difficult to get retail jobs in the food industry. But if you take a look at companies like Amazon, Walmart, okay, those guys are hiring right now, believe it or not. Okay, so you would be looking at, you know, working in inventory, or you know, what's known as an order picker. Okay, so that's shipping and receiving. So you could try those type of jobs, and because people are still buying goods, there is a need for people to work in the logistics of that, okay? And when I say logistics, that doesn't mean, you know, supply chain necessarily. That just means, you know, anywhere in the supply chain. So factories are still open. Factories are still open. They're taking temperatures and stuff like that, but the restaurants are the big problem. I don't know if you guys do Uber Eats. That might be a job. Uber itself is slowed down, but I think Uber Eats is picking up. There's other food delivery, I can't remember the names of them, but there are other food delivery companies that are still very active.
The DoorDash, I think.
Huh? Yeah, DoorDash. Is it DoorDash? Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. So that means that there is quite a change in the employment sector. It's probably going to be difficult to find a job in the retail sector right now. But I would imagine, you know, in 6 months, it'll probably be a lot better.
Yeah, I mean to ask, like, related to the courses what we are doing, how the job market will be.
It's a very unusual time. I think businesses are just trying to figure it out right now. For example, there's a lot of work from home. Do you guys know what work from home is? Okay. So a lot of companies are finding out that they can survive with their employees working from home. in terms of whether they will go back to work or not, I would suggest maybe half of them go back to work shortly, meaning September, and many people will continue to work from home for their companies. But call centers are good. So you can work in a call center for any one of the banks. We have 5 big banks. Okay. I don't know if you guys know them: CIBC, Bank of Nova Scotia, RBC, TD, and Bank of Montreal. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So they are continuously hiring, but I would imagine more hiring in the call center operations. And what does that mean? That means inbound calls and outbound calls. Okay. So what does that mean? Well, you can work in the call center and be part of the inbound calls, which would mean you would take questions or issues from clients who call in. Okay. So you would help them with their issues. But if you're in outbound calls, that is more like calling out to customers to try and sell them something. Okay, so that's the difference between inbound and outbound. So I would focus on the call centers for the banks. As far as we have a lot of major companies here. So we have Citibank, which is a huge bank. That's a US bank. Anyway, so I would, try to focus on that area. I'll try to help you guys understand things as we go along, okay? All right. All right, so I didn't really answer your question too well, but things are very fluid right now.
Do you know when schools are planning to come back?
Yes, I believe September. You should start to see, and I'm pretty sure Toronto School of Management will be open in September, but I think you will have your choice of online or on campus. I know some of the public, I teach at a public college as well, and they are opening in September. Blended learning, yes. Thanks, Fergus. Blended learning. What was I going to say? But it's too difficult to forecast because in the US, Harvard University, Harvard University has said that they are going to have the year 2021 delivered virtually. Okay, so it's too difficult for me to answer. Oops, I just sent that to one person. Okay, sorry I can't answer the questions with any certainty for you guys. It's an uncertain period, okay? All right, back to the course. All right, so I showed you the future value calculation when we are compounding. This part right here, that is what's known as the interest factor. Okay? The interest factor is the 1 plus the I to the power of n. Okay? That's called an interest factor. Just remember that because I'm going to show it to you later. Okay? Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you a different calculation and show you how we go back and forth in time with money. Okay, so far what I've shown you is going forward to find the future value. But we can also go backwards, believe it or not. Okay. So I might want to find the present value of a future sum of money. Okay. That is invested for 2 years at 5%. Okay. So I showed you the first one, calculating the future value. Now what we want to do is we want to calculate the present value. And in order to do that, we just rearrange the formula and we get present value is equal to the future value divided by the interest factor. Okay? You guys with me? All right. So what I want to do now is I'm going to take so we know that the future value of $100 invested for 2 years compounded annually is equal to $110.25 2 years in the future. But what if I told you that I want to find out what is the present value? Okay, so I know that I'm potentially going to get, let's say, Yavaraj, let's say you're going to give me, in 2 years, you're going to give me $110.25. But I want to know, what is that worth today? Okay. Now, we just found out that as you go forward in time, when there's an interest rate, you increase the money. Okay. But when we go backwards in time, we are going to decrease the money. Okay. So I've given you a new calculation. So if I want to find out the present value of $100 to be received in 2 years, and what do you think that's going to equal? Oops, sorry. What do you think that is going to equal?
$100.
$100. Good man. Okay. Now I'm going to prove it to you. So I'm going to share my calculator. Okay. So I'm going to clear it. Watch what I do with the calculator. Okay. So I said that the present value is equal to 110.25 divided by 1.05 to the power of 2. So you have to do that interest factor first. So what I'm going to do is 1.05 x to the y, then 2 x to the y. Okay. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to save that, okay, in memory storage. Then I'm going to clear and I'm going to go 110.25 divided by memory recall, and that gives me $100. Okay, so let's try another one. Okay, so I'm going to get you guys to try one on your own. Okay, so let's take $200 and I want you to tell me what is the future value at an interest rate of 6%. So you guys calculate it. So the future value is equal to the present value times 1 plus the interest rate. When I use this little arrow, that means the exponent.
Teacher.
Yep.
Yeah, I know it's a little bit late, but does n equal to the time?
Yes.
And
number of periods.
And you say it's the 200 hours, so this amount is accumulate like over hour?
Over 2 years, compounded annually.
Annually.
Okay.
Teacher,
okay.
Is it correct what I send you in the group chat?
I'm not sure. Let's check it out. Okay. I haven't done it yet. Okay.
Oh,
so
okay.
I wanted you guys to practice. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to share my, it must be right. 2 people sent me the same number. Aviv and Yuvaraj. Okay, so let me show you on the calculator. Okay, so we're going forward in time. And I said $200. The first we need to do the interest factor. So 0.06 x to the y to x to the y. Okay, and then I multiply that by $200, and that gives me $224.72. Did anybody have a problem with that?
No.
No? Okay, good. Now, what I want to do is, let's go in the opposite way. But I'm not going to use the same numbers. Okay, so let's say that I potentially was going to receive $300 in 2 years. Oops. And I want to know what is the present value. Of 300 at 7%. And you're going to use the formula. Present value is equal to future value divided by the interest factor to the power of n. So give it a try, and let's see how you guys do.
Teacher, how many years did
2
you
years.
say about 3?
2 years.
Thank you.
So I equals 7%, n equals 2, future value equals 300. I want to find present value. Okay. I've got 3 different numbers from you guys. Okay, no problem. That's why I'm here. Okay, so let me share with you my screen, and I'll just take future value is 300, 7%, 2 years. Okay, watch what I do with my calculator. So clear it. I make sure the memory is clear. In this case, when we're going backwards in time, I have to calculate the denominator first. The denominator is 1.07 x to the y to x to the y. Then I'm going to put that in storage. You can write it down or you can put it in storage, memory store. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the 300 and divide by the recall, and that gives me 262.03. Okay. Any problems? I noticed there was some problems there.
Can I just see the formula of this one?
Yep.
What's changed?
So we're using this formula right here. So I said $300 at a rate of 7% for 2 years. Oops, forget that.
Teacher, you said 3 years, no?
No, I said 2 years. This is 2. 1, 2. Okay, it doesn't matter if you did it for 3 years, I can find out what it is for 3 years as well.
Yes, I did it for 3 years.
No problem. So let's take a look at what it would be for 3 years then. So I'm going to clear my memory. Then I'm going to go 1.07 x to the y, 3 years x to the y. I'm going to store that, clear, and then I'm going to go 300 divided by recall, and that gives me 244.89 for 3 years.